What's good, y'all? Welcome back to Kid Taj. Today, this is not a recap video. Contrary to, my latest videos, I believe I did 10 recap videos to start the playoffs. I'm not doing one today. I don't think I'm going to do them anymore, and that's just because of the simple fact that they really haven't been doing them well. People really know what's going on in the playoffs. Fans of the NBA, they're going to know, and I guess my evaluation of the playoffs just, it's not that important to people, which is fine, because we all have our own opinions, and the playoffs, we all know what happened. People don't need to be informed. People that are watching those videos, they know what happened. They've got enough of the playoffs, I believe. So in this video, we're not going to be doing a recap, but we are going to be talking about one series in particular in the MVP race. Again, this might be the last video I ever make on the 2016-17 MVP race, so that is until that award is announced, or maybe, we see how far James Harden goes in the playoffs. And if you guys are thinking right now, reading the title of this video, listening to what I'm saying right now, that I'm talking, that I think that the playoffs have anything to do with the MVP. Look, I know that the MVP votes are in. I know they've been in since the end of this season. But we can use the playoffs as a further evaluation of, how valuable you are to your team. And, I know that Westbrook's performance in the playoffs isn't about to, get him more MVP votes just because, okay, the votes are already in. Same thing with James Harden. But when I watch this series, I think that, a ton of people watch this series. This probably was the most watched series in the first round. I completely going out on a limb saying that because I have no idea what the most watched series was. But to me, it just seemed like this OKC versus Houston series was so exciting for people. People wanted to watch these two players, these two leading MVP candidates go at it. And that's exactly what happened. Now, if you watch this series, which you probably did if you're a basketball fan watching this video, and you're wondering what the MVP award has anything to do with this series, or what the series has anything to do with the MVP award, I'm going to tell you. I'm going to explain. I have a hot take to make, and my hot take here is that this series determines that Russell Westbrook is the MVP. Now, a lot of you guys might have questions like, okay, well, didn't you notice that the Thunder lost in 5 games? Don't you know that Westbrook didn't play? He didn't shoot that well from the field. He struggled in fourth quarters. He just wasn't leading his team to victories because he only won 1 game. Did you know that the playoffs are where you got to win? Did you know that this team was a first-round exit? How can you win the MVP if you're a first-round exit and you're a 6 seed? You didn't even have home court in the first round of the playoffs, and look what you did with that. Look, I get all that. I understand all of that. It makes sense. MVPs don't typically do this. Lose in the first round as a 6 seed. That's not really an MVP type thing. The MVPs typically in the NBA are players on teams that are really good. Now, I'm not saying that that's a bad thing that you have really good team players winning the MVP, because that can honestly make a huge difference. Value is based on, how much a player helps your team win, and when you take a look at the best teams, the players in those teams are probably doing the best jobs at that, which I'm not going to deny. But I will argue that supporting players on the Oklahoma City Thunder weren't of enough value to this team to get them that series victory. And when you look at the Houston Rockets, you look at the players on that team, it's just not the same. So a real accurate way of doing this is by looking at these two players and saying, okay, well, look, Harden's team won 8 more games or whatever. I think it was 8. I know the Rockets, I believe they won 55. The Thunder, they won 47, didn't they? I don't know. It could have been 8. It could be 7 or 9 or something like that. It wasn't 10, okay, but they won 8. I think 8 more games than the Oklahoma City Thunder. Let's just say it's 8. And look, this is a pretty considerable margin. It's a pretty big deal. You got one team's a 3 seed, the other team's a 6 seed. So now right away you might be thinking okay, well, look, both Russell Westbrook and James Harden are superstars. They are the lone superstar on their team, and James Harden's team is a lot better. Therefore, we got to give the MVP to James Harden. That's one way of looking at it. Another way of looking at it is Russell Westbrook puts up big numbers, but James Harden puts up almost as big numbers, and his team's a lot better, so he deserves the MVP. And look, I've had mindsets like that. I've had thoughts where it's okay, Harden should get it. And that was earlier in the season. But, you know, when I'm seeing with Russell Westbrook, his impact on this team, his value. I mean, we got to remember what the definition of the award we're talking about is. His value to the team. And I will argue that, yeah, maybe James Harden's a better leader. And I don't even know about that because, honestly, what can you get out of these role players in OKC that look completely lost when you have these guys on the floor that without Russell Westbrook that I just don't know what to do. And you can't get anything out of them, especially on that offensive end. And me watching games in this series really helped me determine that. You know, I was watching James Harden have these bad games, and the Thunder the Rockets would still get W's because one game they got 28 off the bench from Nene on 12 of 12, and that same game they got like 34 combined or something like that out of Lou Will and Eric Gordon. I mean, the Houston Rockets might just have the best bench in the NBA. They have Lou Will, Eric Gordon. Those two guys are the two leading Sixth Man of the Year vote getters, probably. The two leaders on the same team, the two best bench players in the NBA are on the same team this year. That's phenomenal. And then you look at Nene, and okay, actually, before I go on, I want to say, if you're going to be like, oh, well, Andre Iguodala is better than Eric Gordon, you know, you could say that, but who's going to win Sixth Man of the Year? Who are those candidates? Who are the guys that give their teams the biggest spark in terms of scoring? That's what you need to have a sixth man. That's my point. They get points out of those guys. And then you got Nene, okay? Off that bench. In your starting lineup, you really have no holes. You got great shooting in Beverly, Ariza, Anderson out there. You got an athletic big man down low that can do the little things in Clint Capella. And then you got James Harden running your offense. You got the perfect setup. Not to mention that team's number one in shooting. The best thing you can have around star ball handling, slashing guards or forwards are shooters. They got that around James Harden. They got the best shooters in the league on that Rockets team. They got the best shooting in the league, I should say. And on the Thunder team, they have the worst shooting in the league. And look what's happening. I mean, not only are the players worse, but the team's not catered to Russell Westbrook in any way, shape, or form. Yet, when he's on the court, they're still a positive team against the Rockets in this series. They still outscore the Rockets in this series with Westbrook on the court. Okay? That's what it all comes down to. I mean, just take a look at the goddamn plus-minus stats for Russell Westbrook and compared to the team. And there was one game where Russell Westbrook was something like plus 13 and Norris Cole was minus 9 and they lost by 4 or something like that. Or no, I think Norris Cole was minus 18. I don't know. I mean, it was weird. Maybe those numbers might be a little stretched. I'm not gonna lie, but look, when Westbrook's out of the game, we all know what happens. And Westbrook has to be absolutely spectacular in all 4 quarters for this team to have a chance to win. Harden doesn't even need to be good. I mean, he had a terrible game in Game 4. He didn't play all that well in Game 5 either. And look at what happened. They got the W's both times, and they got it primarily because of those supporting cast members, those guys hitting big shots. And no one on OKC could do that. And yet, the Thunder were close. I mean, it's not like there were blowouts in this series, besides Game 1. Not like there were blowouts. It was like these were close games. The Thunder were leading in the first quarter for every single game in this series, I think, and they just fall apart down the stretch of these games. And it's terrible because they usually fall apart when Westbrook comes out of the game and he comes back and it's just not enough. And he's so tired of having to carry the load every single minute of every single night. It's absolutely ridiculous. And if you want to know stats from this series, for each of these guys, for Westbrook and Harden, in this series, Westbrook, he put up 37 points per night, 11 assists, 12 rebounds, 2.5 steals. He only shot 39% from the field and 27 from the three-point line. Yeah, not great percentages, but still, you know, even with those inefficient shooting percentages, Russell Westbrook was still overall being productive as he was getting to the line a lot. Okay, he attempted 14 free throws a game in this series. He did turn it over 6 times, but again, I mean, he was affecting the team positively overall when he was in, and when he was out, they could find nothing on that offensive end. A lot of times, you know, at the end of the game, you just see Westbrook chuck up a lot of shots and not be efficient at the end of the game. But you know, it's kind of a lose-lose situation. If Westbrook's not hot, if he's not playing well, this team is absolutely screwed. It's absolutely screwed. And you saw a lot of guys miss shots, not named Russell Westbrook in those fourth quarters too. The OKC team was just bad in fourth quarters throughout this series, and especially when they went to fouling Andre Robertson at the end of games, that's how you knew it was a done deal. Now for Harden in this series, he put up 33 points, 7 assists, 6 boards. He shot 41% from the field, 24% from 3, and he committed about 6 turnovers as well. You know, I found it interesting because Harden scored, 4 less points than Westbrook. He had 4 less assists per game, you know, which means that, okay, Harden doesn't have to do as much heavy lifting, is what it looked like to me. And visually, in the eye test, when watching these games, I mean, Harden needed to make a lot of plays, and he did make plays. Like, he helped the offense flow, but he wasn't giving a lot. I mean, and they had a lot of guys just taking over. Lou Williams can take over a game. He can take over. The Thunder don't have a guy like him or Eric Gordon, and they don't have shooters like Trevor Ariza and Ryan Anderson. Okay, and they don't have. I mean, they have their. I guess you could say their version of Patrick Beverley is Andre Robertson, sure. But Andre Robertson is also one of the worst shooters of all time. I mean, free throws. I mean, he killed them. He killed his team there. So this Thunder team, I mean, if Westbrook wants to win, they gotta construct this better in terms of around him. They don't need all these superstar talent. I don't think. I think they just need a lot of guys that can shoot the ball, defend well, play with Russ, and get a score, like an instant offense score like Lou Williams would definitely help Russell Westbrook out just to ease the load. Oladipo is just not ready yet. He had a terrible series. You know, he's been decent in the regular season, but, you know, in the playoffs, he just doesn't look right. And Westbrook just looks like the MVP. It's like everything lies on Russell Westbrook if they want to win. And they lost in 5, and I understand that, but I don't think it was really Harden versus Westbrook. I think it was Westbrook versus Houston for this series. It's just what it seemed like to me watching it. That's going to do it for this video. If you enjoyed it, leave a like. Comment what you think about this. I might be wrong to you, so please let me know. Actually, if you do want to have a conversation with me about this, hit me up on Twitter. That's where I will respond to you and we can have a discussion for real. Subscribe if you're new, and I'm out. Thanks for watching, y'all. Peace.